Hi, JDL Brushes here, and we have a new video, and it is brought to you by the Marker Brush Pack. Alright, so we have an interior sketch right here, and we are going to start by roughing out the major proportions of the image. And I'm not so focused about making a final line work of the piece. It's more of a way of plotting down the proportions of each element of the environment. Excuse me. And this sketch actually took me about 45 minutes to do, which is okay. Usually I go for 30 minutes, but I do have a max of an hour, and yeah, so 45 minutes is not bad. And so that's my first kind of I started with the ceiling, and again I'm working on my flats, just selecting out the major shapes of the image of the sketch. And again, I'm not entirely pure with working on one layer for the flats. Whenever I'm not so sure or I don't feel safe, I just make a new layer for the flats. And you can see me do this with the pillows and the kind of blanket, I think. And now you can see me work on the wall, and you can actually see, in terms of this sketch, the way the edges are rendered out, it actually kind of fades out, or that's not the right word, where you can actually see kind of bites from the white kind of chipping out the sketch. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well, but in my previous sketch, it's actually the whole colored part is pretty compact, almost a rectangle, like at least when it comes to the edges, it's very kind of constrained into a certain shape. But this, for this sketch, is actually not as there's more white space, I'll say that. God, you can't explain shit. Anyway, so you can see me, I think I worked on the curtains on a new layer as well, because it wasn't safe. Even the kind of backside of that bed, it has a different texture from the kind of wall above. But yeah. So now you can actually see me work on the pillows, and that's definitely on a new layer. And again, I'm still working on the flats. By flats, I mean just the general. I have one general color, and yeah, it's kind of it almost looks like clip art, you know, in those old kind of word graphic art stuff. Or yeah. So now you can see me add some finer lines, and I haven't started with the shadows or dark shades yet. I kind of skipped that and just directly went to some of the finer lines or detail. And yeah, I think it's I tried to eventually kind of place this fine line layer above all the others, and just kind of ruined the darker and lighter shades. So I think for this sketch I started with the flats, and then worked on some of the finer lines, as you can see me work on now. And then most likely in the next phase I'll be working on the darker shades in multiply mode. But now, let's just focus on the finer lines. And again, I'm still working on some of the finer lines, and I think in the end I will go back to I'll be making some adjustments with those fine marker lines. And again, you don't have to be so detailed with your, say for example, the carpet. Just make sure you make marks, enough marks that indicate or that suggest that it is some kind of carpet. You know what I mean? So make sure you find that specific kind of motif and apply it to your specific subject. And now I'm working on the darker shades and obviously working on the multiply mode, new layer but multiply mode. And yeah, it also helps that I did separate the pillows because I was able to do some simple mask rendering. So yeah, and again, you can use some manual just your hand shading, or you could use some of the selection tools to be more precise with some areas. So yeah, I'm still working on the multiply mode, on the darker shades, and not bad. And again, don't use the reference well. You don't have to be a human printer because I don't know, it doesn't feel right. Just use the reference as you see fit. So yeah. So now I'm adding some of the darker shades on the curtain. And even in the flooring. And I think I'm still in the multiply mode and working on the darker shades. And right now, yep, I'm working on a new layer, but this time working on the lighter shades on or in overlay mode. And it kind of adds more value variety. And yeah, it can even add a few more hues, although it's not going to be as far from the original color picked color. So yeah, but it's pretty useful and it just adds more character, right? And right now the sketch is pretty much finished, but I'll be doing some edits again with some adjustment layer stuff. Although I didn't use the adjustment layers per se, I just directly adjusted the kind of cropped photos or selections and played with the color balance, finding the right kind of hue and some of the levels to kind of bring up the contrast. And I almost lost buildings in the windows, so I had to do some adjustments again. And yeah, so there you go. That's not a bad looking sketch. Pretty good. And I did use the kind of method from the last sketch, and turned out great. Whichever your art, whatever your tool, make it beautiful.